see. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. A couple housekeeping matters here. We're missing a couple members tonight. Commissioner Vexi had some business in Hartford and would not be able to make it. Commissioner Baker is en route from another event in upstate Connecticut, and until such time as she arrives, Mr. Clymer will be sitting in. And let's see, we have, I guess that counts for everyone. Because we have guests tonight, without objection, we're going to start off on item 8-24, review Stratford High School renovations. We'll give them the courtesy of going first, because some of our other items might take a little time to go through. So we had started the discussion last month. Did we table it? Yeah. We did table it. Let me just look here. Give me 1 second. High school renovations, that's the other one. Hold on. Okay. All right. Okay, we didn't actually table it. So, is there somebody presenting on the Stratford High project? Mr. Antonazzi, how are you?
Yes, I am. Hello, everybody.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening. My name's Paul Antonazzi. I'm the architect for the project. Our offices are at 271 Fairfield Avenue in Bridgeport. I have with me this evening Lisa Yates, who is the project manager on the project for us. Also, Antonio DiCamillo from the firm of Stantec, which is doing the civil engineering here. And then Richard Snedeker. Richard represents CREC, which is the owner's representative for the project. So you have the full team. Now, I guess we have a few new faces. Last time I was here, I went through the design of the project, and I'll happily do that again if you'd like. Mr. Chairman, would you like me just to run through it so that those unfamiliar with it?
Who was not here for the last one? I'm sorry,
well,
I lose track of these things.
That were all of you here last time?
Have you?
Okay.
We saw the preliminary, and I think...
You did? Okay, well then...
Why don't you just give a quick overview just to refresh everyone's memory? We've had Thanksgiving in a month.
I'm going to have to ask you for...
Yep, you want me to take you to the beginning of the plan?
Yeah, just take me to, the site plan that shows the new and the old with the red. Okay, this is a very informative slide because it shows two things. It shows the existing building, which is in red, and I'm sure many have recognized the King Street is right in the middle of the picture, and Soto Drive is to the right, and California Street is way to the left there. So that's the entire site. And the part that is red with the diagonal lines, that's going to be the only part that remains when we're complete. All right? And that comprises the shop wing and the current gymnasium wing. One was built in, I think, 1989, and the other one back in the 40s. The remainder of the project to the right of that, all the way out to the street, will be demolished and removed, that you see in red. The project is constructed in really three phases. The first phase is on the west side of King Street. That rectangular box is a 3-story building that'll be constructed prior to any work on the other side. And that building it's going to be a big building, 3 stories. It'll have all of the classrooms. It'll have the library. It'll have the cafeteria, and it'll also have the administrative spaces. And the benefit of building that first is when that's complete, we can really knock down everything to the right of the hatched area, because all of those things, with the exception of the auditorium, will move into that new building. The auditorium, unfortunately, will be a victim for a year of the process because we don't have a place to relocate it temporarily. So they'll, and we've discussed this, they'll do their performances probably up at Bunnell, and we'll provide temporary space for band and choral within the building. So when phase 1 is done, phase 2 will knock down the red part, build the new portion of the building, and that I'll show you in a second, we'll have the new auditorium, gymnasium, and so forth. And then when that's complete, the last part in the middle will be finished. So quickly, Lisa, very small in terms of the plans. You clearly have difficulty seeing them, but I'm sure to the right there you can see in purple, that's the new auditorium. Just to the left of it, below it, is the new gymnasium for 1,200 seats. It'll be the same size as Bunnell. And then further to the left, where the current gymnasium is, will be the new auxiliary gym and the weight and wrestling room. And then below that, the lockers, the shops will remain where they are. And over on the left side, the yellow is the administrative, the blue is the new cafeteria. Now, just before we leave this, what I want to point out is we've designed this building so that what we call all the civic functions are kind of clustered. And you can see where the auditorium and the gymnasium is. There's also a lecture hall there in brown. Those are really the rooms that the public come to most of the time. So those are clustered in an area where they can be open, but the rest of the school closed. Now just go to the second floor. The second floor, over on the left, I'm sure you all recognize those as classrooms. And there's a bridge at this level connecting the two buildings. And on the right, there's not a whole lot on the second floor. Most of it's the upper part of the big spaces or roof. The blue area there is going to be the new library. And then the upper floor of the new building is all science and math. So I will say it took some time to work out, but I think the plan at the end is well conceived. And as I'm sure you can imagine, trying to design it in a way that keeps the building occupied and safe for students is really a challenge for a very tight site like this. And we've worked very closely with the construction manager, Turner Construction, to make sure all of the phasing can be separated throughout the process. So we're very confident that the design will be very successful. So I can stop and answer any questions on that, but next will be the site information.
Any academic classes on the right side at all? All the academic classes would be on King Street?
Pretty much. I think we have art on the second.
Art is on that side. We have some of the culinary classes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and actually, if you go back downstairs, there's surrounding, sort of in that beige color, is the Alpha program. There's, yeah, and then to the right of that is a small, what would you call it, like a training facility for the kids.
Train high school students to take care of young children.
Yep. And then to the right is of that is the band and choral, and then that dark red all the way to the right is the culinary, which will have actually a small restaurant that serves.
And all the first floor people on the right side will have to get into the building on King Street side by going upstairs and crossing over into that.
Correct. Yes. Yes. All of the students are going to. We're eliminating as best we can any pedestrian traffic crossing King Street. And the uses are clustered so that students will really be spending most of their day in the academic building for their classes, and then going across the bridge and going to their other classes that you see there, and then coming back. So it's a plan that kind of responds to a very tight site phasing.
It's going to be a pretty good hike for administrators that need to get from that portion of the building all the way to the bar.
You mean the length?
the length.
Yeah, well, it is, and, but for a school of this size, it's not uncommon. I would say the distance that we're losing where King Street is probably the added distance that would be more than normal, because, many of these schools are quite big. It's a big building.
Where is the nurse's office located in these?
The nurse's office is in the yellow area there, right in that area.
So what happens to the student who gets injured in the gymnasium on the right side, and the nurse has to get a wheelchair to them? Of course, you got to go upstairs and go across this thing and then down.
Well, if it could be. I mean, everybody's going to have to get there by going up. There's obviously elevators in both sides.
There's also actually a first aid station close to the gym.
And there's a first
to
aid
serve the athletic.
Right.
part of the building.
So, it's
Just thinking in
No, it's a good
an
point.
emergency situation, it's a difficult
right.
run for the nurse to get from where she is
Yeah,
to the gymnasium or the auditorium even.
I would say that that when they start operating the school, they should certainly have a contingency plan for situations.
The nurse is going to have a mobile cabinet also that she requested for like a go bag of important medications.
Right.
And the idea is actually she can take it offsite if she needed to, but it will help in that situation also with the on wheels.
I didn't know that.
Is there an elevator?
There's two.
Two.
There's one on each side. The one on the left side of the building is really sort of right in the center of the building, and over on the east side of King Street, it's actually right at the east side of the bridge.
Are there doors to get in and out of the building? Where are the lockers for the students? For
locker-
athletics?
Oh, well, there's two places. The lockers for the students, the normal student, are all in the corridors like they
Right.
traditionally are. The go back downstairs, Lisa. The lockers for the athletic department, the PE department, Lisa will point them out, but they're located.
This is the locker room, and this is primarily faculty
Yeah, they're
support spaces.
yeah they're located so they're adjacent to all of the PE facilities, and also, as you see, they're adjacent to the field. So,
Where are the fields?
well, that's the next part of the presentation. So.
Could we stay with the inside first? I imagine the corridor width compares to what the existing corridor widths are. I imagine there's a standard that you have to stay within as far as the width of each corridor. And also, more importantly, I'm concerned about what did you do with the stairwells going from the third floor down to the first floor in the case of an emergency and evacuation?
All right. Well, there's 4 stairs in the 3-story building. Lisa, could you point out where the 4 stairs are? 4. And the reason we have 4 stairs is really for 2 reasons. Number one, when you design a building, there's codes that say you have so many occupants per square foot or per classroom. And when you add all those up, some of those, if you exceed so many people, you need to add another stair. So that's how the stairs are calculated. But I think that calculation serves this building very well, because having the stairs at those 4 points, I think you can see, really does manage the vertical circulation rather well for the students. In terms of the exiting and all of that, I mean, it's truly designed to codes that address all those things very adequately. And
Excessive then to move the students quickly.
right,
The stairs are wide, the
Yeah.
hallways are wide.
right. So yeah, the corridors I think are either 10 or 12 feet wide, and so it's. I'm not going to say it's spacious. It's not like, but it's also designed so you don't have any. If you go to the second floor, Lisa, we try to design it to avoid, and I think Bunnell might be an example of this, in areas where students all come together and create like a log jam. If you can look at the upper floor of the academic building, you can see that there's 2 parallel corridors. And those parallel corridors are connected at 3 points, at the ends in the center. And what we did was we located 2 sets of bathrooms for boys and girls. One set to the right is shown kind of in gray there, and another set to the left. To kind of give students always, to the extent we can, 2 ways of getting to the next class. So they don't, if they have to get downstairs to the cafeteria, they can come out and go to the left or go to the right. You know, they'll all find their favorite way of getting there, and the one that's least crowded. Or so it's designed with some thought to circulation.
Further questions at this point? I'm
Just
just,
certainly come back if you have think of anything.
while you're on it, I mentioned, I just wrote down, you had said the Alpha program. Were you able to find anything more on the status of the state grants that I had mentioned to you at one of the meetings?
I actually did.
Okay.
And, yeah, we did do some research on that. Right now, it looks like there might be a minor payback from the town to the state.
Okay.
Because it was less than 20 years since that project was completed. But the reimbursement rate on that was very low because the number of students that are in there, based on compared to the square footage, is really low. So that actually is advantageous in this case because it's going to be much less of a payback to the state. But there is a very minor payback. It's a prorated thing based on the number of years that they're in there. So, but we are on top of that, and we appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Long memory.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to introduce Antonio Di Camillo, who is a civil engineer and a landscape architect, to present.
Just going to go through this. I know some of you already heard this. I'm going to kind of just go through it, maybe a little abbreviated, and I can answer questions as needed. Can you actually just go right to the site plan? That's fine, actually. So as you know, the site is now comprised of two parcels. This is the parcel that Paul was talking about, where the building is going to get reconstructed, and this is the second parcel. And just go to the actually the site plan. So I know it may be tough to see, but I'll try to point out the key things here as I'm able to. So this is King Street. The site's bisected by King Street there. So we're going to be proposing several curb cuts. We're going to have 4 total curb cuts on King Street, 1 on Oak Brae, and 1 on California. And as far as parking on the site, we're going to have 4 separate parking lots. We have the main parking lot right in this area here, a smaller one there, and then 2 other ones on this side over here. I'll talk to the parking specifics in a little bit. As far as the circulation for the site, the buses are going to queue up behind this building here. So they're going to come in from King Street and circle around this way, queue up back here, and then exit out back onto King Street. This is a one-way drive behind that portion of the building. And one of the key things that we want to do is we want to make sure that the buses are separate from the parent drop-off, and ideally from from parking and things like that. Really want to kind of try to, for safety reasons, kind of break things up. So what we're going to do is the parent drop-off is going to be located in this area here. So what's going to happen is people coming from North Parade are going to turn in here, and then they're going to queue up in this area here, which is going to be this section right here, the parking area. This is a one-way in only. So basically, you come in here, and there's a little pull-off, so people are going to stop there, drop off the kids, and then they can exit out or circle around and exit back out to North Parade. filtration chambers underground, also some bioswales possibly. So, we're going to retain the first into runoff as is required, promote infiltration, and really improve the water quality of the site. Significantly where outlets over into the wetland, over in this area here. We are going to require several variances for the project. The variances that we have are going to be the parking, the building setback, site coverage, which is requirement is 25, I believe, on the we have 35%. And then the building height, and there's another one for construction within the wetland area. It's going to be in this area here, so we need a variance for that also. So if you want to go to the parking okay, so as far as parking goes, I know there was some questions last time. The parking traffic study was being done at that time. So what I have here is I have 4 rows. I'm going to go through this so you can kind of see what we're proposing here. This first row here is existing conditions before the Alpha program came in. So what you have on site parking is 210 spaces total on site. 135 of them are being used by staff, and then 75 are for visitors and students, and 15 members of the staff actually park on the street. And we got that information directly from the principal. The second column here is the existing conditions out there right now with the Alpha program in place. So you can see that there was some walls of parking, between a couple years ago and this year. So again, 174 is the total existing, 135 for staff, and you can see that the student visitor parking spaces is pretty small right now in that in the existing condition right now. So here are the proposed conditions. I broke it up into two columns because this column here is based on the original plan that we presented to you last time, and it is also the parking numbers are reflected on the traffic study. So I wanted to, we did some things between now and then, so I wanted to kind of show you the difference. So the other thing to keep in mind is that these proposed numbers are for 2020, so they're projected, and they include the increase in enrollment too. So the original numbers were 244 was the total proposed spaces that we had. Staff was 158, and student visitors 86. And key thing is that we're pulling all the staff off the street now, so everyone is being parked. The proposed revised, which is the plan that you were seeing before there, we managed to squeeze another 10 spaces on the site, which may not sound like a lot, but on a tight site like this, it was it's significant. So this is basically what our current design is based on: 255 total on-site spaces, 158 for staff, 97 student visitor parking spaces, and like I mentioned, no one's parking off-site for the staff. So if you look at the numbers, obviously the existing conditions, 174 to 255, that's 81 space increase about, and then even if you look at existing before Alpha, we're adding another 45 spaces, so we feel like this is definitely a significant improvement. So if you can go to the next.
Just before you leave that, just refresh my memory. What's the projected number of staff members at the school, or the
numbers, and you guys might know, but I thought it was like 1039, I think might be what it is now, and it's like 1100 is going to be the projected for 2020. So we adjusted the staff in accordance with that, which is like 4% or something like that.
so is that number adequate? The staff parking spaces? How many staff members are we looking at?
158.
Yeah, but I mean, how many people are there for those spaces? Is that
There's going to be 158.
so right on the money?
Correct.
Okay, and
That's how they determine the student parking.
yeah, hey, I remember those days. So, and approximately what, 10% of the student body would be having a parking spot?
Yes.
A little under.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, there's a number of, kids that get dropped off, some kids walk,
Mm-hmm.
and, so there's that. So,
What is the existing with Alpha program 2015? What is that count?
that
I
is,
don't understand.
that is, what's that? The trailers, correct. That is that not, I'm sorry. That's the trailers that were put in for that for the program, it's actually at the north side of the east building, so you've probably seen them over there, the trailers. They took up a significant amount of parking, so right now, what you have on site is 174.
Okay, but that's not the Alpha program.
Yeah, that's the culinary program.
Sorry, that was my
Yeah,
mistake.
the Alpha program was down at Birdseye.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, yeah, I was just a little confused.
hopefully that makes sense.
Okay.
As far as the parking, is there going to be a transition to the new parking, or is that going to happen day one when the newer building is complete? Do we see a transition to parking areas? Because we're going to go from one to, I think I saw 3 different locations for parking at the end of the process. So would there be a transition plan, or is this going to be like an overnight, they're going to have those spaces available?
I think as you have them available, I mean, it's gonna have to be a construction manager situation, and there's gonna be some times where things are gonna be difficult. It's unfortunately that's just the way it's gonna be. But the way the project is set up is that this is gonna be constructed first, right, Paul? So you're gonna have these parking lots are gonna at least be in some kind of form so that students are gonna be able to use those, and staff's gonna be able to use that when you come over to the other side to rebuild, some of this side. So the good thing is that they're kind of spread out, so you don't have like one massive parking lot, so that you're gonna have to rebuild it all at once and phase it. So I think it helps that we're gonna be constructing that side first, so that people can use those.
Yeah, because what I'm seeing is that I think there's going to be a need for some kind of, for lack of a better word, parking management type of thing going on, and somebody's got to be able to talk to the administration about how we're going to manage parking and how we're going to transition to the end state.
Yeah, that is really going to be part of a much larger conversation because it ties into all the site logistics in terms of access to the construction sites, laydown areas, job trailers, and things like that. So it is going to be a moving target during the process, and the construction manager will be responsible for creating and then maintaining what could possibly be a series of temporary lots throughout the process where they'd probably put down gravel. So it is definitely a thought that has some merit because it needs to be developed.
If I could add just one thing. Jack Delapiano, the principal of Stratford High School, he's on the building committee for the project, so he's aware of these steps as we're moving along.
Okay.
So the administration's involved, and we also have Clarence Zachary, who's the COO of the Board of Ed. He's also on the building committee. So the administration is involved in these decisions, so I hope that alleviates some of your concern.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
When the project is completed, there'll be 3 areas of getting into the building right off of North Parade here. You'll have a one-way street coming right to the town hall like it normally is. And then on the other side of the present Stratford High School, you bought up that house there, and is that where you're going to enter the parking lot?
Right now what we have is we have one two-way entrance right in this area here.
That's off of North Parade.
Correct, off of North Parade.
But I thought you said there was one if you circled around, you could come out again.
At one point, we were looking at maybe adding a one-way drive out of here, but I think we decided against that at this point. So the one-way drive is this section here. So if you come in from here, from North Parade, if you want to do parent drop-off, you go straight into this one-way area here. If you want to go into the parking lot, you most certainly can just make a left and go to the parking lot. So it goes from two-way to one-way here.
Is North Parade going to remain a one-way street?
North Parade is not part of the project, correct? Yes.
So it remains one way.
Correct.
So the only way you'll be coming in actually is from the top portion, right-hand portion of that
Correct.
picture.
Yes, I mean, you can get into, obviously, from Ken, you can get in, there's a two-way entrance from Ken also. to that parking lot.
Yeah, that'll be a little bit more problem, I think, in the morning.
So we could see the people in this.
I think it might be helpful if you show how you drive in from King.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So if you wanted to do the parent drop-off and you're coming from King, what you need to do is you need to come in here, and obviously, once you get to this point here, this is a one-way section here. So you can't go in here, so you have to circle through the parking lot and then go back up and then enter because the section is a one-way that way. I think, once people get used to it, I think it would, with any other school. You need buy-in from the staff. You need people to be directing, folks around and making sure that they're not, parking all over the place and stuff like that. So it's going to be part of the process here. So.
Just a thought, and I know it's 11th hour kind of thought, and I know we can't do anything, but did anybody consider parking garages to go up so maybe we would have some space for fields on the property? Because I see 3 spaces there for parking, but if we went 3 levels, we'd have 2 spaces for fields.
I think I could address that a little bit. The school construction grant that we're using to help build this school, it really doesn't apply to parking structures. That would take a special legislative act to get some reimbursement for that.
Yeah.
So all in all, we've been avoiding that direction.
Okay. I was asking just to see if it was considered, and it sounds like it was, so thank you.
So this is just to wrap up real quick on the traffic. This is basically just a table of level service ratings for all the intersections nearby that we're studying as part of our study. And the key thing to look at here is broken. This is both basically the divided line. This is weekday morning and this is weekday, afternoon or midday. So what I essentially wanted to show you is if you look at, for example, these are for 2020 here, right? So projected in the future. If we were not to go forward with the project, these are basically the grades that the intersections get, right? Now, if you do build the project, these are the grades that the intersections get, just in a nutshell, basically. So this shows you that on a whole, holistic level, the traffic impact to the nearby, area is really, negligible due to the project. So just wanted to, make sure that everyone was aware of that. 'Cause I know there are some traffic, things that are happening. I know Barnum and in California, I think Barnum and Maine are going to get some kind of a traffic fix over the next couple of years. That is included in our study. We took all that into consideration when we did our traffic study. So just wanted to just throw that out there to make sure everyone's on board with that. So that's all I have. If you have any specific questions, I'm happy to move on.
Just simple question. The traffic study, I guess I'm imagining it's going to increase traffic flow on King Street based on the new school, right?
There is going to be some marginal increase, yeah, due to the just due to the nature. It's not really significant. I mean, it's because the main parking lot comes onto King right now anyway. But what's happening is essentially we are putting parking on the other side, right? So you have parking on that side that contributes to King also. But for example, if you look at the queue length on Route 1 and King, right? I believe for existing conditions during the morning peak, it was like 150 feet, and then for most conditions, it's like 152 feet. So those are numbers calculated by the program, obviously. But it gives you an idea that it's really not a significant change to the nearby intersections. So we looked at all the intersections nearby.
Okay.
Are we going to talk about anything with the architectural outside exterior part of the building as far as the roof and how that's made out and what's going to be on the roofs?
We can. What we did was we took an approach here. One of the most critical areas of our new building, and probably the one that most people will see who come into town, will be the area up towards the green, because that's in that area that I was referring to as the civic component of the project. So what we did was we started the notion of how to design this by looking at the existing building, which is your postcard picture for Stratford, and of course recognizing the artistic and architectural elements of this that make it so agreeable, and clearly we all recognize the columns and the pediment and the lantern and the tower, and we were challenged by, how to architecturally do something that would work with this without challenging it in any way, without trying to compete with it, yet be sympathetic to it and agreeable in a way that it might look like it was always there. So on the other hand, we didn't want to do something that was totally traditional either. So the next slide shows our approach to this. And if you look at the lower slide first, you'll see that instead of building a portico with columns and an entrance in the center and then a very strong vertical element above it, we chose to create what we call a peristyle, which is that flat roof section, that porch, with columns that surround it, sort of striking a balance with the town hall in that we've used the same vernacular of columns and that cornice element, but we haven't done anything of a very vertical nature. It's really much more horizontal. And if you recall the plan there, we don't really have we have an entrance facing the parking lot where Antonio was saying the drop-off was going to be, but we also have an entrance and you see it there in the upper drawing, facing the green. So the peristyle is sort of porous, if you will, in that you can enter it from any direction. So we felt that this was an interesting an approach to how to design for this particular location. I wouldn't say you'd do this someplace else, but I think it works here for all the reasons I just spoke of. And the object in the middle of that, what is the lecture hall, really is for the most part a windowless type of building, but it serves our purpose here in creating what in a sort of classical sense would be the cella, or the center of the temple, so to speak. And by carrying it above the surrounding entablature, we get that attic look. I think in a previous presentation we showed how this was rather similar to the design of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, which hopefully you can all think of in your minds. Clearly it doesn't have all the stateliness of that, nor should it. This is not the focus of the green. So, but we did give it, you see at the bottom, you can see that there's a podium for it, which is very typical of a classical structure. And you see that also replicated, you see that it's copied almost from the podium for the portico at the town hall. So, we tried to use those classical elements in a way that worked together, but was clearly different. And then the high portions of the building, and to the right, if you look at the upper photo there, or up to rendering, you'll see to the right of the peristyle is a darker portion of the building. That's the upper portion of the auditorium. And then to the left is the upper portion of the gymnasium. And actually, it looks kind of dark here, but what it will be is a combination of dark brick with red inserts. So it'll have sort of a fabric, a tapestry look to it. But it'll serve our purpose in that, just like it does here, it'll be a backdrop for what we want people to see, rather than something really big, which it is. So that's how we addressed this portion of the building. The other thing we were sensitive to was the fact that the building that we're demolishing, the original 1927 or 28 building, although not in itself a historical building or distinguished architecturally in any way, but it does have this iconic entry element that I think anybody who's gone to school here, or even if they haven't, can appreciate and certainly have an affinity for. So we decided that rather than demolish this, we were going to actually remove it and save it, and then relocate it to where that circle is on the plan. And although, you might argue it's not as prominent as the front door, I can assure you in many ways it will probably be more prominent, because this will be the entrance that students will probably use much more than the sort of grand entrance over on the right. So I hate to say it, but it's kind of like a church where you design the front entrance, but nobody uses it, and everybody uses the other one. So
It will be the original steel intact when it gets reinstalled in that location of the building.
it'll look just like it. Salvage it, yes. So that's what we did there. And is there any other elevations or anything?
No other slides.
Okay. So that's how we addressed the building here.
Okay, procedurally, just to let commissioners know, the motion before us would be to refer this proposal to the town council with recommendation, assuming positive. And this would be our opportunity from a planning perspective to make any suggestions that we think would be pertinent for any other bodies that this proposal has to go before for their approval. And it looks like it's got a couple different stops along the way before that actually gets some reality. So I think at this point it would be appropriate to begin that. So could I have a motion to refer to the town council, and then we'll start with any suggestions. Okay.
Motion to refer to town council.
With recommendation, favorable, unfavorable?
Personally, I want the white columns.
We'll get into that. Okay, motion to refer to the town council with a favorable recommendation by Mr. Paul. Is there a second? I saw Mr. Sen first. We'll give it to you. And now, well, first of all, Gary, I'll give you the floor. Any comments regarding that we should include in our communication regarding its applicability with the Plan of Conservation and Development, which is the first step that we have to accomplish?
I had provided an 8-24 review that just cited a few goals and policies in the Plan of Development. I'd sent that out back in November. The community facilities goals, the goal for community facilities is to deliver key services to residents professionally and efficiently. Community facilities policy, the town will continue to invest in its education system to improve Stratford as a desirable place to raise a family. An action step under community facilities and dealt with the balance of delivery of services regarding the investment in that. Monitor future public investments in acquisition, new construction, in improvements in relationship to the delivery of service to the maximum number of Stratford residents and businesses, and for the highest priority public service needs. And lastly, I cited an action step under community facilities, incorporate high-quality standards of design into newly developed public buildings and spaces. And then, in my comments, I described the town's thinking in terms of looking, are there other sites outside of Stratford High School to locate the school? And the town explored that and looked at that and discounted that. Then obviously they focused on the subject site and the different options that they went through, not tonight, but they, building all on the west side and the east side and bridging over, abandoning King Street. And so ultimately, if the commission feels that, the town has done its due diligence in exploring all those options and feels that this is the best alternative, I do feel that it's consistent with the policies that I've mentioned in the plan.
Okay, very good. I'll tell you what, we'll start. Mr. Semp, do you want any suggestions that you think should be included in our communication to the council?
No, I think it's a project long overdue for the students of Stratford High School and the faculty and staff of Stratford High School. I still am a little concerned about the one thing, and I'm sure you've addressed this, about we spoke about the Walt Checkeye Fitness Center, and you didn't really say how you would approach that, but I'm sure you've thought about it.
Yes, as the building committee is being made aware of this, and we're also looking at other historical artifacts that are around the building that we're going to preserve, and they're going to name something for.
Even if it's the weight room.
Yeah, that's very
because he was
possible.
really into that,
Yep.
Just so we don't forget about him.
We're not going to forget that. And
Okay.
we appreciate you bringing that to our attention, by the way.
All right, thank you.
That's what you have to do now, correct? With the building.
The fitness center across the street, yes.
Okay. Mr. Sturmer, unfortunately, you missed the presentation on the parking. They gave us the numbers, but is there anything that you'd like to add into our recommendation?
No, I actually reviewed the traffic study, and I'm pretty satisfied with what they're doing with parking, so, no, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Mr. Paul?
Just want to add my old adage, please make sure this very important project comes in on time and within budget.
Very sensible. You want to make a recommendation on the exterior columns? I know that's been an issue that you had.
Well, it looks like the exterior column was, last time we heard this presentation, it was between the wider columns, and I see the stick columns now. And did that decision get made yet, or is that still to be made?
Well, there was a process, a budgeting process that occurred between the last meeting and this, and we had to reduce the cost of the building in a number of ways, and one of them was to eliminate some columns and also eliminate the sort of classical nature of those columns. So what you see is the result of that value engineering process.
Mr. Clymer, do you want to add anything?
Nope.
Okay. The only other two that I would bring forward is, okay, actually there's only, I had mentioned in my comments at the last meeting, if it would be possible, and hopefully it's still possible, to equip the building with as much solar technology as possible. I've seen that done with Flood Middle School, and I'm hoping that that could be something that could be done here with the large roof on this building.
Well, we are designing the roof to accept the loads of that type of system,
Yep.
but we currently don't have it in the budget to construct it. It's very likely that they would be constructed under a different grant.
Okay. It's like it in the, just in our record of our comments on what we suggested, so. And I endorse the proposal to keep the facade, if you will, in its, moving it but keeping it preserved. And I would just ask care for any other historical artifacts or embellishments that might be uncovered during the demolition. That is, part of Stratford's heritage for so many of our citizens. I'd like to see great care exercised on that.
Well, there is just a wonderful marble plaque inside the front doors there for the original building committee back in '29, and of course there's several others too. So yeah, those will be relocated into the new facility. So there'll be a real continuity for the project, which I think is a nice touch.
Absolutely. Okay, and I mentioned the Walt Checkeye facility. So, any other comments before we vote? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries unanimously. Best of luck to you.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have another. Vanel?
Well, while we're waiting for Ann, Ann's helpful to do the subdivision without it, but you want to do the other 8-24, I see.
Vanel?
Or is that-
Yeah. Okay, before we move on, I'm actually, without objection, we're going to take up the Bunnell project. If the commission and the members in the audience would just bear with me, there was something I forgot to do when I opened the meeting. For those of you that are unaware, late last night, former state representative Terry Backer of the 121st District passed away. After a long battle with cancer, he had served the town as our state representative since 1993, a very long tenure, very much respected by the townspeople and his fellow members in the delegation, and the governor, Mayor Harkins, Senator Kelly, even Senator Murphy down in Washington spoke very highly of him. So I would just appreciate if the commission, as this is the first meeting since we've gotten this news, and members of the audience, if you would just stand for a moment of silence in honor of of Representative Backer. Thank you, members. Okay, without objection, we have an item with other guests here from Bunnell High School. Now going to the other high school. 8-24 review additions and alterations to the Bunnell Fieldhouse. I see Councilman Ken Poisson is present, and I'm not sure, well, if you're part of that, come forward and explain to us your proposal so that we can deal with this. Okay, you sent that out. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With me here this evening is Brian Schneider from Geddes Architects and Meredith Pacelli, who's the athletic director at Bunnell High School, and they're going to fill you in on the presentation and the drawings that have already been delivered to Mr. Lawrenson and are being passed around.
Mm-hmm.
I emailed the floor plan.
Right. Members should have gotten the floor plan. It was emailed out to you earlier. Or actually, was it in the packet? No, it wasn't.
No, I mean, this is...
I thought I had it in here.
I have extra copies if you need them.
If you could, just give it to Mr. Sempt over there.
This is probably a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you did.
I think they're going to go out. This is the present. They're going to go out this way. This one's a with the,
And then I emailed
this is
So what?
that's a football field. So there's bleachers, and that's another street over there. This is behind the school from the far right. This is the latest one, Brian. Football field. Right now, extra toilets. This is one of the things we're saying.
Oh, I see.
Didn't want to add on this bigger.
Okay.
So it's basically you'll change the bathrooms. You go in the same one.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
No. It's all within the building. I mean, all within the structure of the school. The street is over here. Yeah. And we're not going up high. It's just,
Okay, whoever wants to lead off the discussion, come forward and just explain what you're proposing.
My name is Brian Snyder. I'm with Geddes Architects, and I will walk you through what we're proposing for the field house. If you look at the right-hand side of the drawing, the biggest piece that we're proposing is a approximately 25 by 35 addition on the east side of the building, which would be toward the high school. That addition would house a new home team locker room and a bathroom facility for the team members. The project would also involve alterations to the existing spaces. There are several sort of small unusable spaces and team showers and the like that are no longer used for their original purpose, that have become storage in places where shoulder pads and helmets are piled. We're proposing to not only build the new addition for the team locker room, but to reconfigure the existing spaces as well to better serve the public and the teams and that use the facility. Notable alterations include an expanded concession stand. If you've ever gone to a game up there, it is extremely cramped and there's barely enough room for two people to walk around to cook up foods for the people that go to the concession stand. This would be probably tripled in size, give or take, so there's enough room for the people to work in there and to serve the public. Another notable alteration would be expansion of the public toilets. The existing public toilets are severely insufficient, and I've been told there are long lines at games. This would also include a shared space for officials to go at halftime that would also double as shared office space for non-football coaches to use, that would also have a bathroom. This alteration would also include a space for an athletic trainer, which is currently not accommodated for in the existing facility. There would be coach's office, obviously, and a visitor locker room, and the existing storage space would be reconfigured to not only accommodate storage, lockable storage for various teams, but also a small locker area for the other teams that do not have locker space, that currently just use the football locker room, and it would be a shared locker space. Are there any questions?
Okay, yeah, just there's a diagram. On the diagram, there's two areas that says confirm feasibility. Could you explain what that is?
That is the existing mechanical room, and we would like to provide access to that from the exterior, but there's some existing utilities in that back wall, and we're just getting the mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers involved in the project, and so there's some utilities that need to be verified if we can make those alterations and install those doors as shown.
Is the present heating and/or cooling system adequate for this new 25 by 35?
We have not, the mechanical engineers have not done a full investigation yet. They're going to be starting very soon. But my understanding is those systems are original to the building and are in very poor condition.
And all of that is taken into account with the cost of...
Yes. We anticipate upgrading...
Just talking to the microphone, okay.
We anticipate upgrading all the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems within the building.
The locker rooms here, is this facility just used for the games only, where there'll be visiting teams using it as well as the home teams?
This facility gets used a lot. The youth lacrosse use it, Pop Warner football, lacrosse. I mean, everybody uses this facility.
So if we were playing Notre Dame and Notre Dame was playing football, would they use this facility at halftime? Is that what it's for also? Is it shared with our visiting teams when they're having an event?
Yes, there's a locker room for visiting teams as well.
Okay. Just to clarify Mr. Paul's question, what is currently used for visiting teams when they come here?
There's two locker rooms in the existing building, one for visiting and one for home. Somewhat small, so they're both getting enlarged in this project, visiting and home locker rooms.
So, pardon my directness, but what I'm hearing a couple of different things from you. One of them is that we have an existing facility that we would like to enlarge. Is that what you're asking?
Correct.
Okay, and what is the reason for wanting to enlarge that facility?
Some of the biggest reasons are insufficient public toilets.
Okay, but that has nothing to do with a visiting team locker room, right?
It's just part of the puzzle.
Okay.
There's several parts that make up the puzzle, and locker rooms are just part of it.
Okay, so the objective is to increase public access to toilets? Is that one of the...
It's not increasing the access, it's increasing the number of fixtures. There's not enough fixtures currently.
Second thing is something that you said that concerns me a little bit. It doesn't necessarily concern me from a land use point of view, but just kind of logically. I'm sorry?
John, just talking to the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. One of the things that you had indicated is that we have space that's effectively being misused. And that's what we want to fix?
Misused?
Well, you
I don't
said
recall
that
saying
we-
misused.
Well, you didn't say the words.
It's inefficient use of existing
Right,
space.
we-
People don't use gang showers anymore.
I'm sorry?
People don't use gang showers anymore.
Okay,
And-
so you're saying they're obsolete, not that they're misused.
Yeah, that's just one piece of it, yes.
Okay, just the way it's
And there's some inefficiencies in the existing layout.
such as?
You will see the existing layout underneath it, but there's just sort of, number one, the gang showers, which are used for storage, the inadequate size of the public toilets, inadequate size and functionality of the concession stand. It's like a scissor type space going through there. It's just not used efficiently.
Okay.
And it's too small.
I'm just trying to ensure that the things that are being proposed are, I guess, logical and appropriate things to consider.
Right.
Make sense?
Yes. And if you look on the plan, the walls that are shaded orange are new walls, but you will also notice we worked very diligently to try to save as much as we could. Like, we're keeping the public toilets in the general location where they are now, so as to reduce the amount of trenching, because all the utilities are underground.
Right.
So they're roughly in the same location, so the trenching and the connections and the extensions for the larger toilets, we're sort of in the same vicinity. And a lot of the existing concrete block walls will be able to remain. So we're trying to be as efficient as possible.
If I may, let me just also add, I don't know if members saw the letter that was sent to the commission from the school. It's speaking the condition of the facility, and it says, for example, the field house is not up to code on several levels. The bathroom facilities which we discussed are small and not handicap accessible. Flooring and ceiling are failing, and in the past fall there were 2 gas leaks, a leak in a pipe, issues with the boiler, and safety concerns with the roofing. So there are a couple other issues they're trying to resolve.
And these things are going to get fixed with...
Is that correct, sir? Will those
Yes.
issues be resolved?
It's going to be a complete rehab when it's all done.
So the gas leaks were inside of our property?
I'm not aware of the gas leaks.
Okay, well, that was just the communication we got from Benel. Mr., you would like to join?
So,
You just give us your name, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Meredith Pacelli, Athletic Director at Bunnell High School. So twice this fall is actually, on the weekends we host Pop Warner, Saturdays and Sundays. And the people who were running the concession stand said they smelled gas. And it was twice, so we had to get the gas company down, and they had to shut the gas off. And that was twice. And the leak in the pipe was through, we have an ice machine, and there was water all over the floor, so we weren't unable to use the ice machine. And one of the things that I wanted to add and touch upon is this isn't just a Bunnell facility. We use this really for life. Cavalcade bands, Pop Warner, like I said. And if our field house is new and improved, we are able to host state tournament finals, soccer, lacrosse, football. And it builds revenue, and I don't know, it puts Bunnell on the map, and people walk away and say, wow, that's a great facility, because the turf is amazing. The field house would be just a great addition to our facility.
Okay, well, look, I mean, I understand that, and, the comments you made draw a little additional concern. Do we know where this, what was the result of the gas company coming out, shutting off the gas and investigating? Was there a gas leak? Was it their pipe? Was it our pipe? Because if there's a problem with the pipe coming into the property...
Yeah, our town workers
matter.
have fixed it. Yep. Yeah, our town workers fixed it. They made it aware to Public Works.
So it was our pipe?
Yes.
Okay. So obviously that needs to be corrected, and this project is going to correct that issue?
Absolutely, yep. The majority of the issues are because it's...
Gas leaks are kind of a little disturbing, I'm sure you can understand.
Yeah, that's why we took care of it right away.
Let me just say also, I was at the Powder Puff football game there, which was very well attended. And it almost reminded me of my days on the football field, but I think those girls can run a lot faster. But I did go to that concession stand. It is tight. Lines were very long, and it's a turn off. You don't want to buy anything there. So it seems like it's due for a little renovation. And the only thing I hope that you're doing is looking at this longer term also. Is what you're proposing going to be adequate, or are you going to be looking for more next time around? Because I'd rather go to the water hole once. So just make sure when you go to that water hole, you're going with all of what you need so that it gets accommodated. Because in my opinion, anything that ties into athletics, it's good for the community. It's good to get people out. And we do need to make that facility a better place. So I'm in agreement with what you're trying to do there. I just want to make sure you cover all your bases and it gets done right.
Absolutely. All this is to benefit the kids in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lawrenson, any issues on your review that you wish to make the commission aware of?
I cited just a couple policies under the open space and recreation section. The town will provide ample, high-quality recreation facilities to serve residents and visitors to Stratford. I thought that was appropriate. Under community facilities and services, it promotes the shared use of public spaces and facilities, and I thought that was appropriate given that the building would also be shared by the other civic and athletic organizations like Pop Warner. Those are the two that seem to be on point.
Okay. Members have further questions? Mr. Sem?
No, I'd just like to make a motion that we send a favorable request to the town council for the additions and alterations to Benel High School Fieldhouse.
Before I recognize that, Councilman, could you just come up for a sec? It's my understanding that the council passed this pending our approval. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the town council has already approved everything. It was just contingent upon this 824 review, so it does not need to be sent back to the council. It just needs the favorable recommendation from this commission.
So could you make your motion to approve in concurrence with the town council?
I would like to make a motion to approve additions and alterations to the Benel Fieldhouse to the town council in a favorable
concurrence with the town council. Very good.
Second.
Second by Mr. Paul. Further discussion on the item? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries 5-0. Best of luck to you, folks. Okay. Moving back to actually the first item on the agenda, we'll finally go back in order, is 207 Grove Street petition of Misty Blue LLC. Can I have a motion to take the item off the table?
Motion.
By Mr. Paul. Second, Mr. Sturmer. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Carries unanimously. Open for discussion. Mr. Knopf.
A point of order, Mr. Chairman.
I'll hear your point of order. Go ahead.
As you know, I represent the applicant, Misty Blue LLC. The public hearing on this subdivision application was heard last month. Public hearing closed. 2 of the 5 commissioners who attended that public hearing are not here right now.
Right.
That means there are only 3 of the 5 commissioners who heard the public hearing are available to vote on this subdivision application. We only need 3 votes. So the fact that the 4th and 5th person aren't here.
Oh, perfect timing.
Well, here's number 4.
Well, there we go. I'm now going to sit down and shut up. Thank you.
Timing is everything, huh? Don't go too far, Barry. Okay. All right, just to clarify this situation, Commissioner Baker has joined us. She'll be sitting, obviously, for herself. Mr. Clymer, since you were here first, we'll let you remain sitting for Mr. Oh, he has to vote on this. Who has to vote on this one? Stu or John?
Stu.
Okay, we'll sit here for the remainder of the meeting as Mr. Vexey's replacement. Mr. Sturmer, I know you've had a long day, so you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to leave. It's up to you. Yes.
Probably going to pass.
Okay. Thank you for coming. I know you had to come in from Long Island today. Okay. So, Mr. Lawrenson, why don't you lead off our discussion so we know how we're going?
Would it help to refresh your memory if I unfolded the subdivision plan, or do you have a pretty good recollection of that? Let me see. Joe, you're not sitting on this one, right? You didn't attend the public hearing, right? Okay. Because I have, the 3-lot, it's a 4-lot subdivision, 3 new houses on Grove Street. If anybody needs to take a look at this, I can pass that down. Where do I start? It received variances from the Board of Zoning Appeals for lot width and 1 house for setback to wetlands, and so that's cleared that. Now it's before the Planning Commission for the subdivision, and no variances are requested of the subdivision. And I'll get into sidewalks in a second. And then it also needs coastal site plan approval, which is reviewing the subdivision for its impact on coastal resources. We've heard testimony, from the neighbors. From a staff standpoint, our town engineer had a number of comments, and the applicant's engineer submitted a rebuttal that addressed all of those comments, and the town engineer was satisfied with those. So that, if you remember, the town engineer has no remaining issues based on the revised plans, which addresses all of his comments. So, there were no other outstanding issues. I don't know, the statutes basically say that on a subdivision, the Planning Commission has really no discretion to deny a subdivision that's in full conformance with the zoning regulations. I mean, the lots meet their zoning requirements or have gotten the variance. And the only discretion the commission has is, one, if there's any variances on a subdivision, or waivers on a subdivision, which there are none requested here, or really any conditions on the subdivision as it relates to the placement of the house on those lots. So we essentially have to approve the subdivision. The question is, are there any reasonable conditions to put on the site plan that addresses any of the neighbors' concerns? And I have, as a starting point, I mean, feel free to jump in. I had discussed with Chris and some possible stipulations that would essentially approve the subdivision and these stipulations that I'll throw out as a draft do not change the plans. Essentially allows the subdivision to be built exactly as it's submitted. It just makes sure it gets built in that fashion and doesn't change after we approve it. And so I can go through, I can go through some draft stipulations that I shared with Chris, and I'll just go through those. The first stipulation would be something like compliance with the subdivision map and all site plan details as shown on drawings SP1 through SP6, essentially saying that set of plans meets the town specifications for erosion control, all the details of the drainage, the common driveway serving the 3 lots. And so basically, again, compliance with the subdivision map and all site plan details as shown on drawings SP1 through SP6, revised to November 12th, 2015. That's the latest set of plans that the town has sort of signed off on, the engineering department. So that would be draft stipulation number 1. Number 2, I had said, since the plans show a number of easements on the map, there's a conservation easement proposed along the perimeter of the property, and then there's driveway access easements and drainage easements, and kind of a standard stipulation is all required easements shall be approved by the town attorney's office and must be recorded in the land records prior to the subdivision map being recorded. Basically, the town will look over the easements, make sure the language is satisfactory, easements can be recorded, then the final map can be recorded. And I think we're going to see that's number 2. Number 3, and I said that there shall remain only one common driveway for lots 3, 4, and 5. And that's what the plan showed. There's one common driveway to lots 3, 4, and 5. So I'm stipulating something that's already shown. The reason why I think it's important to stipulate it, because I remember years ago, another subdivision in a different part of town had the same thing. It had a common driveway to rear lots. And it does force neighbors to sort of understand and work together in terms of snow plowing and maintenance. And, sometimes neighbors don't get along and they try to dissolve that agreement, and next thing they all want their own driveways onto Grove Street. And so I think the end result, if it's not stipulated, is that you could end up with 5 driveways all in a very short, space on Grove Street. And I think that's a significant change to the plan. So I'm suggesting that there shall remain only one common driveway for lots 3, 4, and 5. Now, with that said, and nothing stopping an applicant 10 years from now, 5 years from coming back to a commission and trying to plead their case to saying it just doesn't work and we need to have driveways, and they're always welcome to try that. But I think I'm trying to discourage that by, it's having one common driveway and putting that as a stipulation. The other next, number 4, I put the location of the silt fence on the erosion control plan shall be the limit of disturbance for the subdivision. No trees shall be removed beyond the limits of the silt fence before, during, or after construction. What I heard from neighbors, too, is obviously the trees are very important, and they are important in any subdivision. And they have to remove some trees, obviously, for the common driveway and the footprint of the houses, and that's to be expected. Some of the lots have a lot of trees by their own plans. They're not touching, and there's no need to touch those. And so, without a stipulation, essentially, there's no requirement, no prohibition for a homeowner then to just clear cut all the trees on the property if they want a nice view of the marsh. So I'm trying to prevent that. And so their plan has a good plan. It shows on the erosion plan the silt fence is basically the limit of construction, and it shows almost most of the trees, will be on the outside of that, will be preserved. Obviously, some trees will be removed. They have to be removed. So I was thinking of a way. Okay, that's that if that's the limit of construction, there should be no disturbance beyond that point. If a house wants a shed, they can build a shed as long as they don't cut more trees down. Again, nothing stopping an applicant if they want to come back to the commission. Well, we need to take 1 or 2 trees down for one purpose. They're always free to come back to the commission for just a modification of that stipulation. But that was my recommendation for preserving the trees beyond the footprint of the houses. Number 5 I had is pretty straightforward. It says compliance with all fire code requirements contained in section 3.3.1 of the zoning regulations regarding rear lots. Right now in our zoning regulations for rear lots, it requires a couple things that that a single family house would not be subject to. It means the driveway needs to support a fire apparatus. I'm sure it will be, and it's not it just requires it to be, and it also, a single-family house is usually not subject to a full fire detection system, but our zoning regulations for rear lots says a full fire detection system shall be installed to the fire department specifications. And again, that's normally not required. If you were to build a house on any lot, that's not required, but it is required for a rear lot. And so I'm just saying compliance with our zoning regulations. And then lastly, on a rear lot, it just requires an address, numeric address out by the road so the fire department can see that there are houses in the back and what numbers they are. So that's number 5. Number 6 was the sewage pump system for all the new homes shall be connected to a generator at all times so that the sewer can function during extended periods without power. So the applicant had said that, they will have enough storage capacity in the sewer for 24 hours, I believe. John Casey had recommended that it be tied into a generator, so if we're out of power for 7 days or longer periods, that there wouldn't be any possible backup or adverse impact then to any of the coastal resources. So it's just linking the sewage pump system to a generator, or individual generators for the house, for the 3 new houses. And lastly, it's just regarding the sidewalks. The applicant has not requested a waiver of sidewalks, and there are no sidewalks on the street. and it sounded as that it was the consensus that sidewalks would not be appropriate here. But the applicant didn't want to ask for any special approval or special waivers, and I understand that. So I just phrased something like, although the applicant has not requested a waiver of sidewalks, the commission feels that a waiver of sidewalks is appropriate as there are no existing sidewalks on the street. Accordingly, sidewalks are hereby waived, and the cost of sidewalks shall then be paid to the town's sidewalk fund pursuant to Chapter 8, Section 1 of the subdivision regulations. So I think those are my drafts to start off. I ran it by Chris, and he asked me to just share it with you if there's any ones you want to delete, modify, add. I think these cover, from what it approves the plan exactly as submitted, doesn't change the plan, just tries to make sure that they build it pursuant to the plans. And so.
Commissioners, any suggestions, comments? Mrs. Baker?
The trees. How would we enforce that? How would we enforce homeowners? Say I buy that lot and I want to take down all those trees. I mean, who would enforce that rule? Would it be on the deed that they can't cut them down, or is it just something that...
It's not as good as a conservation easement, which then would be, recorded in the land records. This would be a stipulation of the approval, and so my office would then enforce it. If, a homeowner or subsequent homeowner then started cutting the trees down, hopefully that doesn't happen. If a neighbor says they're cutting all the trees down, we would stop them first, or try to stop them, and then I think with it being a stipulation, I think we would have some leverage to say, okay, you've already cut down 3. Yeah, we can't obviously undo that, but they would have to then submit a request to the planning commission to perhaps to plant some new trees in substitute of trees that were already cut. I mean, it's not a foolproof system, but without a stipulation, that we would have no remedy at all. There's some remedy, at least. The condition of approval is recorded. I mean, it is recorded in the land records. I mean, so that title searchers, the original purchaser of the house will buy it, and they sell it. I mean, usually attorneys and title searchers do their due diligence and check what approvals, and then would see the conditions of the approval of the subdivision. So. Again, nothing's, you raise a good point. It's not foolproof, but it is.
Well, that's just an unusual
some
request.
notification and some remedy.
Yeah, when you buy a house that you can't do what you want on your own property.
But I think it's within the purview of the commission to regulate the placement of the houses and how the structures disturb the landscape, and to me, it's a viable stipulation of the commission.
I have a question. Gary, I don't live forever. Trees don't live forever.
Right.
So when a tree dies,
right.
¿Qué pasa?
No, no. How do I phrase it? No tree shall be removed, is how I phrase it. If it dies, I mean, you're not removing. I mean, it either falls or, from a common sense, practical standpoint, if a homeowner said, if they hopefully call us rather than just cut it first, they call us, verify that it's dead and dying, we'd give them permission to cut it. It's without any modification. It's dying. It presents a hazard.
Presents a hazard to human beings or the house or whatever.
What's that?
If it presents a risk or a hazard to the house or to other people.
Right, absolutely. I think
it's got to be taken out.
Yeah, you could say, except for,
It's common sense, right?
No, it's, right. How do you want to phrase it to provide for, contingencies, but...
Well, it says, no trees shall be removed beyond the limit of the silt fence before, during, or after construction. Do you want to say unless dead or diseased,
Yeah, unless it's
or
dying.
presents a hazard to public safety.
Creating a
Okay,
hazard.
that-
Sure,
Yeah.
yep. Sure.
Okay.
Or,
Other comments or any other stipulations? I mean, for myself, I'm glad we've had to put a few of these items on here because the concerns that were brought forward, I think, were very valid. Had it not been for the regulation saying that we have to approve it, I'm fairly certain I'd be a negative vote on this, having looked at the property, and I don't know that it necessarily holds it, but the law is what the law is. So the best we could do is try to take as much action as we can to protect the environment down there. The item number 6 regarding the sewage system, that was one of the things that I had suggested because it was in John Casey's comments. And I think we have to be very mindful of the fact that this is an ecologically sensitive area. It's very close to the marshes here. And during the testimony, during the hearing, I was surprised that it spoke that the power failures were rare. When we've had, between Irene, Sandy, we had a snowstorm, we've had a few of these things in the last 3 years where there has been a protracted amount of time where power had been out. And what my concern was in bringing that forward was that should a power failure occur, the damage could be severe if not. And I think it actually provides a benefit later on because if you have the generator in place, it's something that, you know, the people in the houses could use for other purposes too. But I think that we have to do take the utmost care to protect the environmental resources in that area. Okay, so do we vote on the sidewalk separately? Is that a waiver or not, even though they're not requesting it? Or do we just incorporate it as part of our
just
approval?
incorporating it as part of the...
Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the subdivision with the stipulations as presented? Mr. Senft?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the subdivision containing 4 lots on 207 Grove Street with the 7 conditions that were aforementioned by Mr. Lawrence.
Okay, is there a second to the motion? Mrs. Baker, any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 4-0. Okay, with one abstention, Mr. Paul, due to the fact that he was absent at the public hearing.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Same deal.
Same to you. Okay, moving along. Approval of the minutes of the November 12th and November 17th, 2015 meetings. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Mrs. Baker, is there a second? Mr. Senft, any discussion, corrections? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries unanimously. Did you send them out to everybody?
What's that?
The special minutes of the orientation
I
session?
sent it to maybe to the only 3 who...
You want to push it off till next month?
Oh, we can,
And
absolutely.
then that'll be the 5 members that actually were in on
Sure,
that one.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Site plan review on 207 Grove Street.
Right, we need now to vote to approve 27 Grove Street from a coastal site plan standpoint. I think how we approved the subdivision really addressed the DEP's comments. DEP's comments were basically, I'm looking at the letter now, that said, just make sure the homes comply with FEMA, which they have to be. I mean, the building official can't issue a permit for the homes unless they meet, FEMA requirements. Then they go into tidal wetlands, the concern for tidal wetlands, and most of that concern was dealing with stormwater management. We've got plans now that John Casey is happy with upon all those revisions, and so the revised plans I think addresses the DEP's comments regarding tidal wetlands. The only DEP comments that actually didn't make any sense to me, they're a big proponent, as I am, of public access. They're suggesting that we incorporate public access around the perimeter of the private property, so that the public can actually park in front on Grove Street and walk on private property, which actually is I'm a very strong proponent of that in the right circumstances, but there's none of the homes on Grove Street have any public access component. So I don't think it's appropriate in this instance, and so I haven't heard it mentioned. Even the neighbors weren't pushing for any public access on the property. So I think how we've addressed it with the stipulations of the subdivision addresses any of the concerns of the DEP. So I would recommend the motion to approve the coastal site plan with the same subdivision conditions.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the site plan for coastal management? Mr. Sem? Second by Mr. Paul. Or do you want to vote on this one or not?
It was, yes, it was, the coastal site plan was submitted with the subdivision application, so it's actually one application.
Yeah, I won't be on the safe side. Why don't you sit that one out? Okay. Can I have a second other than Mr. Paul? Mrs. Baker? Sorry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries unanimously. Any correspondence?
Simply the 4 8-24 letters regarding the Burns construction, the street line adjustments in Stratford Avenue by Bruce Avenue, adjustments to the West Broad Street right-of-way, and the open space on Elm Street, or permanent conservation easement on Elm Street. Those were the only letters of correspondence.
I did inform since the Stratford Star had written an article on Burns construction, I sent them a note informing them of our decision and the final disposition of that application, and they have not printed that yet. So just tell anyone you know that's concerned that what we did with it. Anything new on the Plan of Conservation and Development?
No.
Or TOD?
No.
5.3 regulation, I think we're going to have to put off till next year. That's a bigger thing. We've done the 824s. We have a request for a bond reduction from the Stratford Development East Campus included in your packet.
And we need to table this. Essentially, the engineering department was asking for verification that the sewers were constructed satisfactory, and how they do that, the contractor has to provide air test and TV study of the sewers, and so that hasn't been done yet, so the engineering department has not yet provided any recommendations, so that will stay on the table until January.
Okay, we'll leave that there. The rules of order we're going to take up in January, so there's no use even dealing with that now. Anything on sediment and erosion?
No.
Any called bonds?
Nope.
I don't see Mr. Vexey for the Greenway, so I don't think anything going on there?
Nothing new.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the end, and as most of you, a number of you folks were in the council chambers last night for the council members to say their farewells. I'm sad to say we're losing two of our members who I've enjoyed tremendously having as part of this chamber. Commissioner, the Honorable Joseph Paul, Commissioner Ann Baker, who's leaving us after a very long time, 2007 or 2008, I guess it was.
Wow.
So it's always a moment that, I think Councilman Kubik said it well last night. People think that we, sit up on the chairs and don't do anything, but there's an awful lot of work here, and this is a lot of technical stuff, and both of you, and Charlie, and Stu, and Joe, and John, all of you I know over the last year have worked very hard to work with all these things and to understand and ask tough questions, make reasonable judgments for the betterment of the town. And I just want to say how much that I've enjoyed having you on this commission and working with you very closely. I know always in January we have 2 new members joining us, but I will definitely miss you, so come back and say hello to us. And following the council's tradition, Mr. Paul, would you like to say a few words to close out our term for the
Yes,
year?
I would. But first of all, I want to thank everybody here. It was great working with everyone. We didn't always agree, but that's okay. To me, we had great debates, and we made decisions that we thought were the right decisions for the town. And that's the main thing, that we can work together. The most fulfilling part of my term on the Planning Commission was really when I worked with the steering committee and putting the town's 10-year plan and conservation together, which was a lot of work. It was a good time to be on the Planning Commission. and I was glad and happy to have served. So, indeed, my pleasure, and I want to thank you all for working with me, and I wish you guys continued luck.
Commissioner Baker.
It's very sad to leave. We've worked with Dave first, then Gary. We worked with Denise, Joe Vexi, then John Zabel, and now you, Chris. It has truly been a pleasure working with all four of the chairmen and the two zoning administrators. I've really learned a lot. I've had a lot of fun. It's been an education. I look forward to possibly sitting on another board. It truly was different than watching the town council last night. It was totally different. Our board is totally different. And I truly have enjoyed working with it. Thank all of you for, all your endless nights, and it's a lot of work. And we all volunteer our time, and I thank you for that. I think we do make a difference. I think we're good role models, these commissions. We do what's right for the town. We work together. Like Joe said, we have our differences, but we try to do what's right for the town. So thank you. I wish Pat and Jim the best of luck coming on. You're coming into a great group of people, and good luck to you, Gary, in your retirement.
Thank you, Ann. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I think we do have one additional retirement that obviously we have to talk about. Our next meeting will be January 19th, by which time Mr. Lawrenson will have left us. So I just want to say, and I'll open the floor to any other members, how much I've enjoyed working with you since, I had to go back and check it out, since 2004, I think. I started off as an alternate on zoning because of a vacancy, served almost 2 terms as a member of zoning, and then 6 years as its chairman, and then another 2 years here on planning. So you've been in my speed dial for an awful long time. A lot of you folks don't see what goes on behind the scenes, but like the Wednesday before a meeting, he'll call me, we'll go over the agenda, and then usually it's the day of, we'll talk in the morning to make sure that we know what's going on. A couple of the times he'll call me, what do you think about this or that? So it's been a fantastic working relationship, speaking for myself. I thank you, as you're not a resident of Stratford, but you've contributed so much to the character of our town and what it actually is right now. There's so many people that are unaware, that take so much pride in our town and are probably unaware of the influence that you've had in making it what it was. So I want to thank you so much for all that you've done for the town of Stratford.
Well, I'm speechless. No, thank you so much, Chris. We go back, really far. I can't believe it's been that long. But I think that, I'm leaving with bittersweet memories. I'm happy for retirement, but I loved working for the town so much that, I'll be thinking of Stratford all the time. And I think the part of the job I like the best is working with all the volunteers. I really give you a lot of credit. I'm compensated. You're doing it for the love of Stratford, and without compensation. And you do a great job with that. And I think it's given me the greatest pleasure working with all of you, your commitment, dedication. And I think that's the part I'll miss the most.
Charlie or Stu, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'd like to just say that based on working with Drew Carey over the last 4 years on the Planning Commission, never met a person that was more knowledgeable. Your legacy knowledge of the town of Stratford is going to be greatly missed. And the way you always conducted yourself very professionally, very objectively, you never had a hidden agenda. And I give you a lot of credit for the great work you've done for this town, and we're going to miss you.
Well, thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
Well, I'm the rookie on the committee here, and I can honestly say when I got the agenda, probably the first agenda that I got for the first Planning Commission meeting, I looked at it and I said, I'm not too sure even what I'm looking at here. And what I did is I picked myself up and I came down into Gary's office, and whether he was busy or not, he dropped everything and sat down with me on more than one occasion to help walk me through exactly what would be going on in the agenda, either the following evening or a week from wherever. So I appreciate that, Gary, and I know you'll be thinking of the town, but having worked for the town myself for as many years as I did, each year of retirement, you forget more and more about the town, believe me. So enjoy.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Stu?
Gary, I just wanted to thank you for your service. You made a big difference just to me in the year I've been here, and I just wanted to thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stu. Appreciate it. All of you, thank you so much.
Okay, so before I take a motion to adjourn, let me just wish all of you and all your families a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year 2016. I hope to see all of you back here in January, or come, like I said, come pay us a visit, and stay involved, because the town needs good people to step up, and each of you has done that over the last 2 years that I've been working with you, and we do make a difference, and we definitely need your contributions to our town. So with that, Mr. Paul or Mrs. Baker, I'll ask one of you to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Baker. Mr. Paul, you care to make a second? Okay, second by Mr. Paul. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries unanimously. We're adjourned. Sine die. See you next year.